It's finally time to fight the absurdist author himself, Camus. Wait, no, I'm thinking of the wrong guy. But first, we have some items to use. +2 speed for Astram, +7 health for Est, and a long-awaited promotion for our designated healer, who can now actually contribute to a fight. Sort of. A-rank stabs is cool too. It means she can use Fortify stabs to heal the entire team at once. I'm gonna give her the Spirit Dust we got to give her magic a boost. And finally, I converted the second Master Seal we got into an Elysian Whip, so after I squeeze one more level out of Pala on this map, I'll promote her as well. Oh, and we can go from being broke to being bespoke thanks to the XL Bullion we got. Time to fight. Don't worry, we've recruited every sympathetic antagonist we've met up until this point. Surely this will be no different, right? This map's enemies are pretty spread out, with small groups of powerful promoted units at various spots, mostly paladins with a few ballisticians thrown in, and the big guy himself, Camus. More dangerous than any other boss in this game for the simple fact that his legs aren't super glued to the seize point and he'll actually move around and attack. His stats are quite high, and he wields Gradivis, the legendary lance with a ton of might and the ability to attack at 1 or 2 range, like a javelin on steroids. But that's okay, because we're going to convince this noble but misguided warrior to join our ranks, right? Oh, and the actual boss guarding the castle is some crusty boomer who forgot to bring a 2-range weapon. My first priority was getting across the river to disable the first Ballisto, which is threatening my flyers with effective damage. From there, it's safe to get the rest of the team across the river to take out the generals. Great level, Pala. Glad I took the time to get that for you. This bridge here is actually locked, or raised, I guess, which means nobody can cross it unless you bring a thief or have a bridge key or a master key. Bridge keys are only sold by a shop way back in Chapter 10, and I didn't bring any of those other things either, meaning anyone in my army that can't cross water just can't get up to this half of the map, so that was fun to realize. Most of the paladins will charge right away, so be prepared for that. Fortunately, Camus doesn't come after you immediately, so you can squish his minions pretty safely. Hey, Marth did something awesome for the first time in this whole series. The shops have some decent stuff in them, another rapier if you're overusing Marth, armor and cavalry slaying weapons, and even more beautiful javelins to stock up on. It feels really good to be able to fight with Tiki without worrying about wasting her Divine Stone. Enjoy it because in a normal playthrough you'll only get about 3 chapters to use it freely, including this one. So I wasn't sure exactly what triggered Camus to start talking to Marth, and I definitely didn't want to get into his range and let him get the first attack from inside a forest, so I was being pretty cautious here. As it turned out, putting Est above this mountain did the trick. So I guess we aren't recruiting him. The sympathetic knight who's not recruitable because he's overly loyal to the kingdom we're fighting is an archetype used multiple times throughout the series, and it all started with Camus. I kinda think he's the worst example of the type though, mostly because the actions he's already performed, disobeying orders by allowing Nina to escape when he had her captured, prove that his loyalty has already been broken in the past. He says his heart isn't his master and that his duties as a knight are too important, but he's already allowed his feelings to outweigh his job in the past, and nothing has happened to him in the meantime that would realistically swing his viewpoint around a full 180. The next Marth game explains that he was imprisoned and punished with torture for freeing Nina, but he doesn't seem mentally broken by that. If anything, that should have just reinforced the idea that allegiance to his current side is a terrible idea. I can understand not wanting to fight and kill his own men, but he wouldn't have to hurt anybody if he laid down his weapon and walked away from a battle that he's clearly losing. He'd be doing the right thing not just for Nina, who wants him to survive, but also for the sake of the entire world, which will be better off when Dolar is defeated. Loyalty to vows can explain a lot of irrationality, especially in a setting like this, but in Camus' case, his irrationality isn't even internally consistent with his past actions. Anyway, after you get that conversation, Camus doesn't push forward until you get within his range, so if you have enough guys, you can just flood in and kill him and the other units near him. Thanks for the spear, idiot. Thanks for the pachyderm, Elephant. There are reinforcements on this map, 2 knights from the center forts on turn 7, a paladin and 3 cavaliers from the west and southwest on turn 9, and a cavalier and 2 horsemen near the castle on turn 10. They all stop after you kill Camus though, and you have more than enough time to do that before turn 7. The boss on the castle, Lorenz, is actually the recruitable character for this chapter. He can be recruited by talking to him with either Marth or Sita. The Sita conversation is better in my opinion, and opens up an additional talk between Lorenz and Marth needs to get down to the village to the south anyway. So this is Lorenz. He's got a lot of HP and defense and has a silver lance, and that's about it. If you're in desperate need of a physical tank this late in the game, you could do worse than him, but he's got all the usual problems of armored units and not much special to bring to the table. Except the eye patch. I like the eye patch. This is the Hammer and Staff. It fully repairs a weapon. Really useful for certain situations, but it can only be used by Lena, who I'm not regularly using on this playthrough. And just to get back to the Camus thing, because I'm still mad, is there a reason that the argument Sita made to convince Lorenz to defect couldn't be used on Camus? His claims of not wanting to betray his country don't hold up if he only defines what's good for the country as being the will of his king, and not for the average people living on the land, who actually make up the country. I guess Sita doesn't have a personal connection to Camus, and Lorenz could just be naturally more inclined to betray his country, but the fact that those two conversations with loyal knights who are initially unwilling to defect just happened back to back really throws Camus' views into question. We've cleaned up here, time to seize. Stick around after the end of the video for some alternate scenes about how things could have gone if we recruited Lorenz with Marth, or if we managed to beat the chapter while avoiding fighting Camus. See you next time.